code followed by pound. You are about to join the conference.
Good evening, everybody. For the record, 5:15 p.m. Thursday, January 14th, 2021. The Wenatchee City Council is out of executive session. I'll call the regular meeting to order. As always, we start with a pledge to our flag, and since Councilmember Bailey was so nice to me a second ago, I'm going to offer him to lead us in our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and for roll call this evening, we have 5 council members present. Councilmember Huffaker, are you on the line?
I am here.
Councilmember Esparza, are you on the line?
I am here.
Great, excellent. So we have all 7 council members with us this evening. Our first item on our agenda, the consent items, which includes a number of vouchers and minutes from our previous meetings, and then to accept a work performed for a couple of contracts. So I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I make a motion that we adopt the consent items, including this evening's agenda, vouchers, minutes from previous meetings, that we accept the work performed by the contractor Kistler Enterprises Environmental Products, Inc. on the biosolids hauling project number SW18-10, and further authorize the mayor to sign the final contract voucher certification on behalf of the city of Wenatchee, and for the council to approve the final contract voucher with T.W. Clark Construction for project number 1809 SSA/OHO Wenatchee remodel, and authorize the mayor's signature.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Hornby, to approve this evening's consent items, including the agenda, vouchers, and the minutes from the previous meetings, to accept the work performed by the contractor Kistler Enterprises Environmental Products, Inc. on the biosolids hauling project SW1810, and further authorize the mayor to sign the final contract voucher certification on behalf of the city, and to approve the final contract voucher with T.W. Clark Construction for project number 1809 SSA/OHO Wenatchee remodel, and authorize the mayor's signature. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We have one proclamation today regarding School Choice Week. Councilmember Bailey.
Thank you. Proclamation, whereas all children in Wenatchee should have access to the highest quality education possible, and whereas Wenatchee recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing all students in Wenatchee to be successful adults, and whereas quality education is critically important to the economic vitality of Wenatchee, and whereas Wenatchee is home to a multitude of high-quality public and non-public schools from which parents can choose for their children, in addition to families who educate their children in the home, and whereas educational variety not only helps to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrancy of our community. And whereas Wenatchee has many high-quality teaching professionals in all types of school settings who are committed to educating our children, and whereas School Choice Week is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise awareness to the need for effective educational options. Now, therefore, I, Frank J. Kuntz, Mayor of the City of Wenatchee, do hereby recognize January 24th to the 30th, 2021 is Wenatchee School Choice Week, and I call this observance to the attention of our citizens. In witness whereof, I have caused the seal of the city of Wenatchee to be affixed on this 14th day of January, 2021. Frank J. Kuntz, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Bailey, and we will get that to the appropriate folks. Thank you, sir. We have a number of action items this evening, and then I think probably a fairly lengthy mayor's report just to get you all caught up on the events of the city for the last 5 weeks since we have met. So we will start with an appointment to the Housing Authority Board. So Laura, you want to do that one?
Good evening, Council. Laura Merrill, Executive Services Director. The item before you is the adoption of Resolution Number 2021-01 for the appointment of Elvis Garcia to the Housing Authority of Chelan County and the City of Wenatchee Board. This appointment is one that we had recently filled with Mr. Armando Bendito, but unfortunately he was not able to fulfill it due to a conflict with his work. So Mr. Elvis Garcia is a local business owner who is very interested in participating, and in fact, he's already, as a public, participated on the meeting just to make sure that it was something that he could do and was excited about, and he is. So, that is our recommendation, that we appoint Mr. Elvis Garcia to the Housing Authority, and let me know if you have any other questions.
So Elvis owns the Seattle Yoga Studio in downtown Wenatchee, and super good kid, so excited to serve.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion that the City Council adopt resolution number 2021-01 to approve the appointment of Elvis Garcia to the Housing Authority of Chelan County, the City of Wenatchee Board for a term, 2 years term ending December 31, 2021.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Hornby, second by Councilmember Bailey to adopt Resolution 2021-01, approving the appointment of Elvis Garcia to the Housing Authority of Chelan County and City of Wenatchee Board for a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2021.
That's not 2 years.
Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Is Jake here? Rob, you being Jake today?
Yep.
Great. So we're going to get some construction done at McKittrick and North Wenatchee Avenue, right?
Yeah, a couple
Okay.
phases here.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm here to request the council to authorize the mayor to sign this supplement number 1 with KPG Engineering. This is the second portion of our McKittrick North Wenatchee Avenue. So it's building McKittrick down to the railroad, and then the portion of Columbia Street going northbound behind Smitty's and some property that we sold to Hooked on Toys. That is a $5 million project. We're hoping to put that out to bid this summer and complete it by the end of 21, early 22. And we had a 30% contract with KPG for initial engineering. This amendment for $352,000 is to complete the engineering. And so we're just here tonight to request that you approve the mayor's signature of that amendment.
So I think that, at least from my perspective, when we were looking at, there was a thought at one point that we would just run the road to the east and just stop at the railroad tracks. And, but then if you ever got the underpass money, you'd have to tear all that out, redo all the stormwater. We were looking for temporary stormwater solutions. And I just told Rob and the team, I said, let's just see if we can get it all the way to the finish line. And we have some Public Works Trust money for the stormwater. And so we're actually going to, as that road goes towards the railroad tracks, it will dive just as if it's going to be an underpass, which means the stormwater line's got to be
23 feet deep.
23 feet deep.
Yeah.
Right?
You have water down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so there, it's just, it got obviously sophisticated, but I said, let's just see if we can do it as if, so we don't have to go back and redo it again. So it's a little bit more expensive, which is why we got money from the PUD to help us and a little bit of Transportation Council money. We're still sort of looking for other pots of money, but it's time, this, I think the McKittrick Street one will go, we get the intersection, this will follow right after that.
Yep, that's the plan. We're hoping actually that the contractor that gets the McKittrick signal will be mobilized they'll give us a good bid on this work too.
Okay.
So.
Good.
So any questions for Rob? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Well, Your Honor, I'd move that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute supplement number 1 with KPG for additional design services for the North Columbia Street Improvement Project. Project number 1919.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Harold, to approve and authorize the mayor to execute supplement number 1 with KPG for additional design services for the North Columbia Street Improvement Project, that being project number 1919. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Rob.
Yep.
Dale, looks like we have a business and continuity plan and a system cyber incident response plan.
That's correct.
Dale Cantrell, Information Systems Director. I'm asking for approval of resolution number 2021-04, which approves the City of Wenatchee Business and System Continuity Plan. The Business and System Continuity Plan establishes procedures to recover City of Wenatchee systems in the event of an incident, whether natural, man-made, cyber, or technology-related. We hired a contractor on this. The contractor and I met with city departments to determine the critical business functions in the city. A draft plan was created by the contractor and myself. The draft plan was then shared with departments for input. A tabletop exercise was performed to test the plan and with slight modifications after lessons learned. The plan will be reviewed annually and modified with any changes needed. The final plan from this process is before you for approval.
All right, and for those that are at home or watching on television, we discussed this in executive session due to the nature of the discussion. So with that being said, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move the City Council pass resolution number 2021-04 approving the City of Wenatchee's business and system continuity plan.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Cuevas, to pass resolution 2021-04 approving the City of Wenatchee's business and systems continuity plan. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And now the cyber incident response plan. Dale?
Yeah, I'm asking for approval of resolution number 2021-05, which approves the City of Wenatchee Cyber Incident Response Plan. The Cyber Incident Response Plan's goal is to handle a security incident in such a manner to limit the damage to the city's business operations while reducing recovery time and the costs of remediation. The process was similar to the business and system continuity plan process. A draft plan was created by the contractor and myself. The draft plan was then shared with departments for input. A tabletop exercise was performed to test the plan with slight modifications after lessons learned. The plan will be reviewed annually and modified with any changes needed. The final plan from this process is before you for approval.
Any questions for Dale? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion that the council pass resolution number 2021-05, approving the City of Wenatchee's cyber incident response plan.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Cuevas, to adopt resolution 2021-05, approving the City of Wenatchee cyber incident response plan. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks,
Okay,
Dale.
thank you.
Appreciate all your
Thanks.
work. All right, so next we have the Lineage Water Right Purchase and Sell Agreement. Mr. Jammerman.
Good morning. Good, feels like morning. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we're here tonight to request that the council authorize the mayor to assign the attached water right purchase and sale agreement in its current form or substantially similar form. I've listed the background in the staff report, but just the high fly over here is we obtained this water right from Lineage when they abandoned their facility or moved out of their facility down on 5th and Riverside. They were leasing the pier from us in the river and pulling water out of the river for cooling purposes. And we asked Lineage about the water right, if we could obtain it. They said we could have it if we took over the ownership of the equipment that was on the pier. So instead of having to remove that, which is in still good condition, we've taken over the ownership of that. We got the water right transferred to us. Now, in turn, the city approached the regional partners to ask if they wanted to purchase the water right to become part of our portfolio, our overall portfolio. And East Wenatchee and the PUD met and agreed. And so the agreed price was $1,400 per acre feet, which was what we paid for the Pioneer water rights. And so Regional will be paying the city's general fund about $1.1 million for the 780 acre feet of water. And we have to file a claim with Ecology by December 31st of 27 to change the water right for year-round municipal use. But we have a consultant working on us for that as we speak. So the mayor's been actively involved in this along the way. And would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would just say, obviously, when Lineage sold all their properties, they were stuck with this lease with the city, and we approached them because they were continuing to pay the lease, and the lease was they continued to have to pay it, and they had equipment on that little pier out there, and so we approached them about, if you give us the water right, we'll release you from any obligations regarding the pier, your equipment, or the rent that we would be owed going forward. So they agreed. Came into our general fund. We made sure it stayed in our general fund, that we paid any consultants with our general fund. We then approached Regional, which we are a partner, and we said, so Mr. Mark Peterson represented the city. He's a water right attorney, and Pete Fraley represented Regional. He's the Regional's attorney. And they came up with the documents in terms of the amount using the one from the one we did 6 or 7 years ago in terms of the dollar amount. There is a chance Mr. Peterson will spend some time over the next 4 or 5 years doing a couple of things. One is helping integrate this water right into the regional portfolio and making sure it becomes consumptive, which is how we get the value. The second thing he will tell you is that if you looked at the power meter, which they have all the power records from that pump, that they were pumping double that amount of water. And so if you can prove that you were using more than that, sometimes you can get an allocation that's more than that. So there is a thought that that number might double. And if Mr. Peterson is successful at doubling that, then Regional would then pay us again for the additional water rights. There's a very small chance that somehow it doesn't get rolled into our portfolio, or that we don't get credit for the full 700. And if so, we would have to pay some money back. I give that about a 5% chance. I give is there more there, probably a 60% chance. So I think our downside is very low, our upside is high. We probably could have squeezed some more. That 1,400 was 5 or 6 years ago. Some water rights sort of sell for, more than that, sometimes double that. But we're also a partner in that deal, and so it's sort of like, so I sort of stayed out of it. I let those guys do the deal. I think it's reasonable for us. So there will actually be a closing, like you would close a house. We will transfer money to the escrow agent. The escrow agent will do whatever the escrow agent does. There's some sort of a certificate, then gets transferred. There'll be a closing, and then of course they'll wire the money back to us. But that's the way the lawyers think we need to do it to document the file. So that'll take place in the next couple of weeks. I didn't want to be the first to do this, so as you notice, the one in your packet's both been signed by both the PUD and East Wenatchee Water District. The last thing I wanted to do was say, hey, here's the deal. And so they have both signed it. I really have not been involved in any of that. I think this is a pretty good deal for us. Obviously, we didn't pay a lot for the right. So I think it's good for Regional to acquire as many water rights as we can. So thought this was a pretty good deal for the city.
Rob, just a quick question on the pier out there. We've had at least a couple of conversations about what to do with that. I mean, it's a a structure that still looks to me, like apparently they can't see underwater, but it's still a very solid structure and could be used for, who knows what, put a carousel on it or do something. Is there the equipment and so forth out there, is their intent to maybe leave that for emergency use, or, are we at that point where you could?
There's a couple ideas that we've kicked around. As far as we know, from what we've tested and seen and so on, it's still in good working condition. You may have heard that there's been thought that when we draw water out of the north wells, there's concern from the fish hatchery that raises the water temperature in the river.
Mhm.
And so there was thought like, well, what if the PUD, instead of using our domestic water to water the park, what if they watered the park with the water out of the river right there and take off that load? Now, we haven't calculated how much that would help or not, but that was just one idea that we were kicking around. But also, I think maybe where we're headed is, could that be of some recreational or amenity to the city? And I think it could, perhaps with the study that we're going to do.
Yeah, so I think the PUD is interested in using water as gray water to help sort of do whatever is going to happen down there. I think, as you know, we've been in negotiations with the PUD and hiring some architects to look at that stretch of the park as well. I think there's been some discussion about maybe attaching something to the pier where you could just walk out onto the pier. The pier is very structurally sound, and maybe that becomes just a little round area to go out and sit and do something. There may be some use for some of the gray water as well, although I think if they do splash pads and those sorts of things, they're going to want to use some sort of chlorinated water, but maybe there's some new state-of-the-art thing that comes up. But I think the PUD is sort of excited about having the ability to access that. Well, that will be through the regional system now, but I think some good stuff will come out of that in the interim as we sort of think about it. And that pier is interesting. If you look at it, it's a pretty stout piece of equipment. And so I think something good will come of that.
Good.
And then, Your Honor, the next thing would be, this is going to be when we get the check, it's going to be a, kind of a one-time, windfall kind of thing.
Yeah.
Thoughts, conversation about
So I would
what we might want to do with a extra $1 million.
Yeah, so I think, and we'll talk a little bit about this as we get sort of in the mayor's discussion. I'm trying to hoard money for downstairs, and not that this would all go downstairs, but we were going to relook at the city hall, and we were a few $1 million short.
Sure.
And as we sort of round out the end of this year, and things have happened a little better than we thought maybe back in April or May, and I got a few other little irons in the fire. So I'm sort of thinking maybe it ends up downstairs. But we'll have a lot of conversations about it over the next month or two as we end up the end of this year and see where the balances are, and add $1 million to that. And we got a few other little things in the hopper we're working on, and see if we can't figure out how to get downstairs built. And Mr. Erickson wants some money for some parks, and he may get a little piece of that as well. And I know our facilities need some money and our roads need some money. So we'll get to arm wrestle over all of that here in the next. But it's a good problem to have, right?
Yeah.
It's $1 million
Oh, yeah.
that we didn't have
No question about that.
before, minus some money to Mr. Peterson, which I don't think's been all that much, to be honest.
Good, thank you.
Right. Any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I make a motion, City Council authorize the mayor to sign the attached water rights purchase and sale agreement in its current or sustainably similar form.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hornby, second by Councilmember Harold, to authorize the mayor to sign the attached water rights purchase and sale agreement in its current or substantially similar form. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Rob. Thanks for working on this. You think that is easy. There's been a bunch of emails and a bunch of back and forth over the last 6 months on this, so.
Yeah, nice work.
Mr. Posenjack, Utility Assistance Program.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. Back in 2017, the council requested a new utility assistance program to have a 3-year trial run as new sewer rates were implemented. The first 28 months of that 36-month trial run, We had very little usage of that, and I was of the mind to let that expire when that 3-year program ran its course. However, in the 28th month of that program, the COVID pandemic hit, and that program has since been utilized quite a bit. Since it was set to expire as of December 31st of 2020, I'm asking council to extend that deadline through 2021 because we do have a lot of utility accounts that are delinquent, many more than we had this time last year. And as we start coming out of this, hopefully soon, and people are going back to work, they're probably going to need some assistance getting their utility bills balances down. And we feel like extending this, there's still money that was dedicated to this program that is on the table that we'll be able to use. And so it shouldn't cost us any more than what was originally allocated to this program.
I'm going to ask a stupid question because I always forget this stuff. Is there qualifications like 80% of like AMI or something?
Well, you would ask me that, wouldn't you?
70% of AMI, there's a qualification, right?
There is a
Okay.
qualification, and honestly, I can't recall what it is. I do believe it's in our city code.
I think it is too, but it's a percentage of the,
This is a program. It's administered. The application and administration process goes through community action, and then so
And the
they
income
do the
qualification
intake,
goes
the
through them
income
too, yeah.
qualification, and then they send along those folks who qualify, send it to us, and then we apply the credit.
So what happens if we run out of money and at an early date?
I will probably be
We'll
at
come
least
back.
chatting with finance committee. It would just I believe it would just require a budget amendment to be able to
Okay.
continue it. And yeah,
But we could do that.
yeah, we could do that. In the first 3 years of the program, we didn't even use half of it. And I know it increased. Maybe we used a third of it during the first 9 months of the COVID pandemic. So I'm thinking that we should have plenty to cover the rest of the year, but who knows?
I get it.
Yep.
and I do appreciate the table. I mean, obviously, we've got some additional dollar amounts in delinquent accounts, but it's really not hugely significant, a little bit less than 60 grand.
Yeah, our staff working with customers has done a great job historically keeping the delinquent accounts down. And with some of the moratoriums on the water shutoff and the liens, sometimes getting the responses from the customers isn't as easy as it used to be. And so those delinquent accounts have increased. But still, when we consider that we've got 10, 11,000 accounts, 98 having larger balances are not so bad.
Great. Any questions for Brad? The Finance Committee did discuss this today and approved its adoption.
I guess I'm just maybe a little bit surprised. Maybe I shouldn't be, but it seems like it hasn't been taken advantage of as much as I would expect it. Especially at this point, back in
Yeah,
March, April, whatever. Yeah, I could kind of see that. But we're hitting a year in here, and there's a lot of folks that are struggling.
Mhm.
Yep.
So I don't know, is there an issue of getting the information out? Is it people that don't know that they can apply for assistance?
So when our utility billing staff contacts customers, they go through their different options that are available to them. They'll refer them to community action or other organizations that will help out, and tell them specifically about this program. My personal speculation is that a lot of people, especially in the beginning of the program when it was $100 assistance, my speculation was that people didn't really want to go through going down to community action, doing the application process for $100 of utility
More
help.
trouble it was worth.
Yeah, I think at a $300 level, there is a little bit more of an incentive, but there still may be some sort of disincentive of having to go through the application process. However, because of our state constitution and state laws on how we can help, we do have to have income verification processes and make sure it is the low income as far as what the state statute says. So whether we're doing that process or whether it's community action doing the process, there is there is some sort of headache that people have to go through. But I do think, I shouldn't say headache, I think community action has done a good job and probably made it fairly painless. And I actually think they've probably been able to give credits to people who didn't even know that credit program was there. If somebody goes and just is trying to get general assistance at community action, I think they will see if they qualify for the city program and help them out that way.
Thank you.
All right, any more questions for Brad? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion that the council approve ordinance number 2021-06, amending the termination date of the Utility Assistance Program in Wenatchee City Code 9.02.010 subsection 7.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Bailey, to approve ordinance 2021-06, amending the termination date of the Utility Assistance Program in WCC 902.010, subparagraph 7. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Looks like we got another taker on the multifamily property tax exemption. Hi, Brooklyn, are you on the phone?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Sure, we can hear you.
Awesome. Yeah, so we have, actually this is the same developer that had one from a little while ago, and they have a smaller 5-unit market rate residential development that is on Stella Avenue, and they're done with that construction, and so this will be a pretty short agenda or agreement timeline, but it's market rate, and so it's not affordable housing, and so it only is for 8 years rather than the 12. And in the multifamily tax exemption program, we require them to enter into an agreement to complete the project within a 3-year timeline, and the agreement outlines the expectations for their for the allowance of the exemption program. Once this agreement is completed or all requirements are met, then I go through finalizing that certification and working with the county to get their property tax exempted for the 8 years following the year that it's completed. So it's kind of a straightforward one. It's a company that we've worked with before, and it was they were really great to work with, and they've been easy to work with again this time.
So
Any questions on that?
I want to ask sort of a big picture question, and maybe it's for Glenn and maybe it's for Brooklyn, but we've had this program around for all multifamily buildings for a while now. Is it time to continue this program? Have we got enough built that it's time to put a portion of it to rest? Where are we at with number of units that have applied for the, I mean, obviously I don't know if we built 1,000 units in the last 8 or 9 years, or maybe 1,200 units. How are we doing on all that? I'm looking at.
Yeah, honestly, there's about 3 people that are I'm in active conversation with right now, including the Riverfront property, which is that large, I think it's 485 unit. They expect to apply for that. I do know that the state did an audit of the program. Their judicial committee did an audit, and there's also some considerations that I've brought up to Stephen and Glenn about allowing the program to exist, but increasing the permitting or the cost, or making it a little bit more robust of a program. Seattle and Tacoma both have this program ongoing and have a couple more dynamic pieces in it. So I think we can continue using the program if we revamp it in a way that is a little bit more beneficial to the city in terms of the affordable housing piece. Most of the use of it has been for the non-affordable housing. So I would say that it's a good time to review how it's been used and also how it could be improved.
So there's the option of looking at the more affordable housing component of it. Part of the goal was, as part of the comprehensive plan update in the R Valley process, was to have a significant increase in the market rate units so that there could be with the goal of decreasing the burden on affordable housing units was one of the components and the reason for the change on the market rate units. We could do an analysis this year on how many units have been built, if the council would like, and bring that to a workshop session for discussion purposes if the council would like to.
I remember when we did it, it's like, just build stuff. Just build, come on, build, and guess what? People have built. We've got a lot going, and I just want to make sure that it's still the appropriate program, that we're still giving it, and it's still working, and we've got this many new units, and rental rates, or not rates, but vacancy rates are, and we still feel good about it, or we need to tweak it like Brooklyn said, or maybe it's just,
Yeah.
it's been there long enough, we've got enough stuff built, I'd be interested in just some sort of overall look at it in some sort of staff perspective.
Yeah, and the goal is valley-wide to bring the number of units up. East Wenatchee doesn't have the program. They've been able to build a number of units as well, and have a number in construction. So we can do some analysis on that and come back at the council pleasure to discuss that.
Okay, yeah, I'm still interested in improving this, but I just think from a policy standpoint, we owe it to the taxpayers to make sure that as these property tax benefits are being given, which means we're all paying slightly more to get to the same number, or we're not getting the 1%, that we just need to make sure that it's accomplishing. And I think it's done great work, quite frankly. It's just want to make sure it's still the right program.
And we have gotten a better vacancy rate than we did. I mean, we started at 0.5% vacancy rate, and it's in the twos. So we can see some benefits have definitely occurred.
What is our vacancy rate currently?
That's why I don't have a good clue on that. I think it's probably better. I'm guessing it's probably in the 2% range.
Correct.
And I'm guessing we built 1,000, 1,500 units. I don't know, Riverside 9, Riverside 6, all the stuff by Public Works.
We can do a tally and also get what's been done in East Wenatchee. And they've done, have some in queue and
But it is an interesting comment you said that they can build them in East Wenatchee without it, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to make a policy choice. I'm just saying that.
Well, it's probably time to take a look at it.
Yeah.
Obviously, these residential units require services.
Yep.
And as and Brooklyn had a really good comment. There's some, you can take a look at what's been done and sort of where we're at, and maybe you want to continue it, but maybe you want to tweak it a little bit and look at some of the other jurisdictions have done. You can bring those types of options in for discussion.
Perfect. That was the only question I had. Anybody else?
Brooklyn had a comment, or she was trying?
Brooklyn, did you have a comment?
Brooklyn?
Yeah, I was just going to share that one of the things the Judicial Committee was looking at was, does the program create development, or is it something that development just uses because it can and it would develop anyways?
Yeah.
So that was a consideration that the state's been looking at when they look at changing elements of the program.
Okay.
Good.
All right. With that, I would entertain a motion.
Well, Your Honor, I would make a motion that we authorize the execution of the multifamily housing limited property tax exemption agreement with FNWD Brookstone 3 LLC.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Harrell to adopt Resolution 2021-06, authorizing the execution of a multifamily housing limited property tax exemption agreement with FNWD Brookstone 3 LLC. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Glenn. Thank you, Brooklyn, for being on the line with us tonight.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Good to see you guys.
Hi, Jessica.
Good evening.
Somebody's going to actually rent the decant facility from us
Finally.
after 8 years or whatever?
Yeah.
All right.
So good evening, Jessica Shaw, Deputy Public Works Director for Utilities. And yes, this has been 9 or 10 years in the making, so we're very excited. We got the decant facility constructed and now folks are starting to use it. So tonight I have before you a use agreement with the Washington State Department of Transportation. And I have to give them credit for being the ones who first planted the seed for this idea and suggested that we seek ecology grant funding. And they tried to participate as a partner, but all of the agreements for them participating under the ecology grant fund got really complicated working with the Attorney General's office. And so they stepped back and waited for us to complete the project. And now the Attorney General has approved this agreement and they're really excited to start using the facility. So we've met with our partner, Chelan County, and they have approved for us to move forward with making an agreement with the DOT. So it's just between the city and DOT. And just to kind of give you an idea of the capacity that we have at that facility, when we designed it, we were looking at including the Chelan County PUD, the DOT, East Wenatchee, Douglas County, Chelan County, and us, and we'd estimated about 6,000 cubic yards of material that we would need to manage every year from street sweepings and storm drain cleaning. Wow. And right now, we're only at about 800. So we have plenty of capacity at the facility. So, and the DOT is expected to be a fairly minor contributor, probably similar to the county at less than 10%. So.
And I've asked you this question before. It's working now?
Yes.
I know we started with
We had some hiccups.
changes you did have helped a bunch.
Yeah,
Good.
so there was some issues in the initial construction, and actually it went back to the design, a miscalculation that kind of carried through. But we had some great consultants we worked with that helped get the facility working again. And so, yeah, it's been in full operation now for, 3 years. We kind of got through the first couple of years making it work, but now we did some retrofits and it works great. It's at full capacity.
Has there been any interest from Douglas County and East Wenatchee on using it? Because that was kind of the original plan, if I remember right, was it was going to be a regional facility.
Yes, you are correct. And yes, they have reached out to us, especially with the change in the state rules on solid waste. So they have had, they've been contacted by the health district in the state about what they're doing with their street sweepings and vector waste. We have offered them similar agreements as we have to the DOT, but we've not heard back from either agency.
Jessica, what,
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
what is you said PUD was, or Chelan County was like 10% or whatever. What's the, the estimated percentage that DOT will contribute?
My guess is that they are probably 10% or less
Okay.
of the whole facility use. So they're a pretty small user.
Yeah.
They actually have their own site located on 97A. I'm not sure where they're at with being able to permit that site because that is one of the new changes in the state solid waste rules is there's permitting requirements. We're actually pretty lucky because we've been exempted from those requirements because of our municipal stormwater permit. So that makes our facility kind of unique and a lot less expensive to operate. So when I talked to the DOT, they were only anticipating, it's too expensive for them to haul material from a really far area. So it'll mostly be just what they pick up kind of in the urban area around the city. So
Bridges and stuff like that.
Yeah. And the interchanges and those things that they still maintain.
Great.
Any other questions for Jessica? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move that City Council approve the Wenatchee Valley Regional Day Camp Facility Use Agreement with the Washington State Department of Transportation and authorize the mayor's signature.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harold, second by Councilmember Cuevas to approve the Wenatchee Valley Regional Decamp Facility Use Agreement with the Washington State Department of Transportation, authorize the mayor's signature. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you very much. I actually have the next one too. So.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
So we're going to contract with Mr. Warby.
Yes, we are. So we contracted with him starting last fall, and we made some great progress this last fall in wrapping up implementation for storm and sewer collections, and also made some progress with some reports. And so actually some of the data that you'll see in some of our annual reports from 2020 will include some of the data that we were able to capture from being able to use and implement this work order system elements. So we're moving forward. We're going to continue to, oh, I forgot, Parks is also fully implemented. So made excellent progress.
Okay.
We're really hitting our stride now. And so we're planning on asking Mr. Warby to continue on through 2021 and continue to assist us with implementing the remaining divisions, which would be our streets and lighting and our wastewater treatment plant and our water department. The water department is probably about 60% ready to be fully implemented. The others are just in beginning phases. But I have to say we've learned a lot in implementing the other divisions.
Right.
And so we anticipate the implementation will just continue to go more quickly. The plan, though, is that Mr. Warby will help us with implementation. He'll help train staff this year. We hired a new GIS technician that was approved in the budget for 2021, and so he's on board. And so Trenton Osborne, and so he's going to be learning and getting up to speed and helping become our on-staff expert, as well as our other staff that are going to be participating in this project. So we anticipate that at the end of the year, we will not necessarily be needing his services anymore.
It's great to go online and see where all the sewer manholes are and all the lines and all the, I mean, it's extremely helpful.
Yes. Yeah, it's a very good thing, and we'll be able to provide you guys some great maps in the future of what's going on out there and just tons of data to better manage our system.
All right, any questions for Jessica? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I move for City Council to approve contract amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement with Warby Consulting and authorize the mayor's signature.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Harrell, second by Councilmember Hornby, to approve contract amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement with Warby Consulting and authorize the mayor's signature. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we got about another 30 or 40 minutes. Should we keep cranking? Anybody need a bathroom break or just go? Go?
Let's go.
I'm good to go.
All right, so you want to start with committees? So you guys have your committee reports out in front of you. I don't know if Keith and Ruth have the same ones in your packet, but we've got all of our assignments. I guess I'm interested in both the Finance Committee, Public Works Committee, and then all of your other outside boards that you sit on. So Finance Committee right now is...
We did not get them in our packet, unfortunately, so
Okay, but
a
you
little
know,
bit of a loss.
but you know which ones you sit on.
They're online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Finance Committee, which meets one Thursday a month, I think currently has Jose, Mark, and Travis.
Well,
Twice a month.
Twice a month.
Twice a month. So I talked with Jose off the record, and because he works during the morning, he couldn't do Public Works, so I think he'd like to stay on Finance if he could.
Please.
Mark, Travis, I always I love having people go back and forth between different programs, so I don't know if Jim or Ruth or Linda or Keith want to jump back on Finance. What are you guys thinking?
I will jump back on Finance, but only if everybody else gets first shot at it, because I've been on there quite a bit, but I do enjoy it.
Mark, Travis?
Finance would be tough for me with my schedule, so I'm going to stay off.
Okay. Ruth?
I would like to get back on Finance.
So Jose, Ruth, and Linda, that work with you guys?
Sure.
Under the switcheroos?
Sure.
I'm good.
Okay. Public Works Committee, we meet one Tuesday a month or 2 Tuesdays a month?
First and
2
third.
at 8:15. That is also an incredibly, lots of information on that. So,
I'm sorry, which one?
Public Works Committee.
Public Works. Okay.
I don't know what they call it.
I was-
Public Works
I
Economic
was still up
Development.
in public safety.
Yeah. First and third, 8:15. So Mark, Travis, and Jim, do you guys want to do those? Will it work for you guys in your schedules?
Yeah,
I'm
it's
already on public
awfully
works.
early in the morning for a tired person.
There could be coffee there. I don't know.
I don't drink
When you're
coffee.
retired, Mark, you have to make some sacrifice.
I don't drink coffee.
Travis, can you do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I'm already
Yeah,
there.
sounds
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll put Jim, okay. And then Keith, we can perhaps use you as your schedule works to plug in spots when people can't show up. Does that work for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to be on Public Works. It's just tough to make it every time, so I'd love to be an alternate.
Okay, so we'll make sure you're an alternate for times when folks can't make it and Keith can pop in on either one.
What happened with finance? Am I still on finance or not?
No, you're off. So finance is Jose, Ruth, and Linda. Public Works is Mark, Travis, and Jim, and Keith will fill in on either spot. Public safety, we really haven't been meeting all that often, and I think we should probably talk about how often we meet. Are we going to meet quarterly, every 2 months? What are you thinking, Chief?
It's every 2 months now.
Yeah, I'm just trying to,
Yeah, I think if you go quarterly, you're gonna miss out on some stuff that it seems like there's definitely emergency management is good with the quarterly report. I'm not so sure with fire district one. For us, we're gonna be rolling out our strategic plan. There's gonna be pieces on it.
Okay.
I'm good with either quarterly or every other month.
well, let's go every other month for a while until we decide to do something different. Currently, it's Keith, Linda, and Jose.
I'll do that. If it's Thursdays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Linda, do you want to stay on public safety?
Sure.
Keith, do you want to stay on public safety? Or is that a hard one for you to make?
No, that one I can typically make.
Okay. Jose, what do you want to do?
I'd like to stay if it's possible. Work with my working schedule unless somebody else wants to jump in.
So,
4 on there.
yeah, you get 4, you get a quorum though, and you got to make it a public meeting.
I don't need to be there.
All right,
Everybody
we'll,
else really wants to be
we'll just
there.
stick with Jose and Linda and Keith, and then we'll use Travis as an alternate if things fall apart.
Okay.
Thanks, Travis.
Yep.
All right, anything else in terms of your other outside interests, in terms of where you're at? Any other, I know we made some changes during the year, so maybe the rest of it is about as good as it's going to get.
I'd like to continue with the homeless and the Masala.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I still be the alternative?
Yep,
Will that
Yeah.
work? I mean, if somebody wants to jump in?
yep, yep. Yeah, I'm not sure that I would change anything on this. I do regional, PFD, and Transportation Council.
Yeah, for me, I'm happy to continue to chair the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee with the mayor's assistance on the few times I can't make it.
Okay, yep.
I suspect we won't be meeting much this year,
No.
until probably quarter number 3
Yeah,
at least.
things get back to normal.
And I've only had 1 year on the museum board, and I would like to stay on there for at least 1 more year
Okay.
for continuity reasons. And the museum's going through some strategic planning, implementation, and all that stuff. So I would like to remain on it. The other one that I'm on, Jose and I represent the council on the
Disability.
Left One Retirement Medical Board. I think I've been on it for like 85 years now. Actually, how long have I been in council?
Ready to start drawing.
15 years. I've been on it for 15 years. Jose's had a year on it. I'm happy to stay, but I would relinquish my seat so that you know it doesn't take much time. Typically, there's 2 meetings a year. Obviously, we've been doing them by Zoom.
Yeah.
There are probably requests once a month for approval of vouchers. You've probably seen a little red folder like the green one that comes around. your decision-making authority is about that wide, according to state law. Although there are some issues that come up from time to time that we have to adjudicate in there. But, I mean, I'm happy to stick with it.
So who
but
runs
if-
the program from city staff's perspective? Is it finance?
Yes.
Is it Lisa or?
Miranda.
No, it's Amanda.
Okay.
Yeah, and we get great assistance
Okay.
from her, yeah.
So I don't see any reason to change any of this stuff. I mean, Jim, you've been on Link forever, and I'm sure you'd like to stay on that, and,
Can I do Link?
that's, well, you can't do Link, 'cause you.
Actually, I think that's in their charter, but you
That was
cannot.
funny, as soon as you said that, I thought, well, why not? It's almost like having Jim
It's
read
worth a try, Jim.
the public's, the private school thing. A lot of sense, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to continue on with Link. There's a committee assignment that I'm looking at that I need to be on the Link board to be able to do it, so.
And I think I'd like to do one more year on transportation, and then I think I'll probably,
Travis, if you want to do
let-
lodging tax.
maybe let Travis
Yeah.
or someone else handle.
Yeah.
I'm alternative already.
I think he wants to
That's
get
right.
on one of the boards
wanna
that's got some
switch?
county commissioners and some more regional folks on it.
Sure.
No,
Yeah.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
Link's got that,
Well, we can
Transportation
talk
Council's
about
got
it through the
that,
year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Homeless has got, I mean,
Let's
there's,
just leave it that way for now, but you and I can talk about that.
We'll say the same as Leo?
I mean, you're the president.
Oh, okay.
all right, so with all that, Tammy, you keeping track of all that? I figured as much. All right, we should select a mayor pro tem. I don't know I know we've done turnsies for a long time.
That's fine.
It's your turn?
Yeah, I mean, the city clerk did research for us last year, and all I remember was Councilmember Bailey for 2020. I was 2021, and I don't remember if it was Councilmember Harold or Councilmember Huffaker that followed me. But
I don't know.
I am for 2021.
Anybody opposed to that? And you'll draft a resolution for us for the next meeting? Or you already have it
That works for me.
for our next meeting? Okay. So we'll put Mark in as mayor pro tem, starting with and we'll have that in the next meeting. And you can just put that in the consent items. Perfect. And then we'll adopt a resolution adopting all these council committees as well. You're amazing, Tammy. Thank you.
And then
She's way on it.
department heads, that's 1:30 meeting.
That's a 1:30.
There's one on here, so.
Yeah, we changed it to 1:30 because I can't get there at 1.
Nobody should have a 1 o'clock meeting.
Yeah. Sometimes messes up with my healthy part of my stuff. So that's the 1:30. And you guys are all welcome to attend. If we think there's going to be more than enough to make a public meeting, we would want to know that, but
So we told you in advance if we're coming, or should we just
yes,
show up?
tell us in advance if you're coming.
I plan on attending the majority of them.
Okay.
Just send Tammy an email if you're going to, and then she'll know if she needs to do a public notice or ask one of us not to attend. I generally stay away.
All right, Laura, we got a whole bunch of stuff. Which one am I doing first?
Do you want to stick on work, you want to discuss when you want to have work sessions and recurring?
Yeah, so obviously with sort of the way we did it with COVID, when things started last March, we sort of shut down everything. We didn't have council meetings. We did not have work sessions for a while. As things sort of loosened up, we went back to having work sessions again. Now I'm assuming we're tighter than we were in August and September, but maybe looser than we were in March and April. So I sort of like, we can do whatever you guys want to do. We've got some topics for work sessions that we can work on. So I'm just sort of, I'm kind of leaving it up to you guys in terms of information that you need. Staff made it sound like we really didn't need to do one in January, but we can do one in February. You want to add work sessions to our regular meeting and make them longer and not have that third meeting? What are you guys thinking in terms of how we sort of approach work sessions for the foreseeable future?
I would actually turn the question over to staff
Okay.
for some of the perspective. You know, are they getting what they need on those Thursday sessions? Can we improve our performance
Right.
with them, whether it's our listening and questioning or policy direction or
Yeah.
what does the staff need so it doesn't feel like it's operating and the mayor, so you're kind of operating like you have the last month.
So I think the two big ones would be Glenn and Rob, who are both in the room, because they're the ones
Yeah.
that tend to control most of our work session stuff. What are you guys thinking? Tim's bringing you a microphone. You can stand in the back.
Now we're appearing.
I do find it helpful, the department finds it helpful to get that kind of feedback and to check in, to see if we're, for you to understand, get a good picture. Are we implementing the plan, the adopted plans that you put forward in the manner that you're comfortable with? Are there things, I think it's a good way to check in as we do plan updates to see if there are things we're missing. It's a really good feedback session for us. We can also relate that to the planning commission. So as far as timeframes, I think we're fine tagging it on to a normal council session. We're also fine doing it in workshops, but we do find a lot of value in those sessions to get feedback from the council.
Thanks, Tim. For Public Works, we could go either way. For Public Works, I tend to get a lot of great information at the committee meetings, whether it be Finance or the Public Works Committee, and then get feedback from the committee about whether they'd like this to come on to the full council or what can be handled there. I do think that our items are usually fairly short, and we could handle them at the end of a regular meeting or during a regular meeting, 15, 20 minutes type.
So what do you think?
So what do you do, split the baby, so to speak? Do we look at, there's no way to foresee how long an agenda is going to take, although we have experience knowing that like tonight's agenda was going to take until about 6 o'clock.
Yep.
If we have public hearings that are dealing particularly with land use issues,
Right.
or maybe a major street corridor or a street plan or something like that, then we know that,
Yeah.
or annexation, we're going to go a little bit longer. I don't know, do you look at something that you do the third Thursday with some things? Do you look at an agenda and add a 15, 20-minute
Right.
item at the end?
That's what I was sort of thinking to you.
Do you go every other month on that third Thursday for a 2-hour session?
Right.
5:15 to 7, say, something like that, so we know that, and that's where, and if there aren't items to load up on it, then there aren't. But if, if we're looking at maybe a major redo to street overlays or the next big comprehensive plan update or shoreline master program update or one of those things, then we need that time. I don't know.
So why don't we start, let's just go every other month. And if we need to plug something into a regular work session, you'll see it. And we'll just lot it as a study session item and give them 15 minutes and the staff can sort of figure out which ones sort of plug in. And we'll try to be judicial about when that happens. And we'll do that for a while and see how it works.
And I'll be quiet, but I like what Mr. Jammerman said about getting the feedback at our committee level, which was the intention of setting these committees up, was
Yes.
to focus on a topic and provide some feedback that wouldn't necessarily take, the 8 of us here. I also want to respect our staff's time.
Yeah.
They're not only working, but they have families.
Yes.
And I know after 40-some years, every night meeting, just after an 8-hour day, 10-hour day, and then a night meeting is.
And I think that what Rob said makes sense because we never had committees until 5 or 6 years ago. And so it's like some of it is duplication for them, duplication for me, but I don't care about those two. I want to make sure you guys are getting what you need and you're not feeling like, well, I didn't know about that or that wasn't, and we give a lot of authority to those committees. I mean, the Finance Committee adopts budget changes during the middle of the year. Public Works Committee is giving direction and we're talking about projects. And so I love the committee work because it gets us all sort of thinking and talking. And then I try to bring stuff back here from time to time. If I go, oh, the Public Works Committee had it, but the other council didn't. So we try, I know, to get it in a way where we all are on sort of the same page. And I guess the way to know is, are you guys getting surprised by stuff? Or is it like, nah, I don't get surprised that often? Or most of the stuff I'm fairly on top of. And So to me, it's sort of driven by you guys, but I would be inclined to go every other month and then plug something in as staff says, hey, I need 15 minutes of the council's time on this item.
Right.
I think that's a great idea. I really enjoy those work sessions because they do give us a lot of information. I really appreciate everything that everybody does because it makes it a lot easier for me and I get a better understanding. But I do.
So let's
I
start with
agree
this for a
Mark.
while and let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay? So our first work session will be February,
Okay,
Not next week.
not next week.
okay.
Okay? And then, well, if we have to plug some stuff in on the 28th, we can, or on the, whatever, the 11th, or however those date works in February.
Yeah, the only thing I guess I would, I think that's a great idea. I mean, it's, there just are, things that come along that are big deals and it takes
Yeah.
a lot more time to thrash through that and,
Yes.
so if it's an hour and a half after a council meeting, that probably isn't going to be, everybody's
I'm
brain dead
anticipating
by
that
that
your
time.
your February meeting, we'll be making decisions about what we're doing downstairs.
Yeah,
I would expect that that would be probably a work session item that we would want to have to spend some time thinking through again.
Okay.
I don't think we'll be ready by the end of January, but I think by the third week in February, we'll have some ideas of how we might move forward.
your comment about, out of committees, I guess the only thing that I sort of felt sometimes that maybe, like you say, we do exercise quite a bit of authority, kind of on behalf of our fellow council members.
Yes.
And I guess that's a good question. Does anybody feel like you've kind of been blindsided by something that's come out of finance and all of a sudden it's before us and I really don't know what's going on here, or coming out of Public Works?
I've never felt that way because it's all in our packet and we can call and ask questions if we need to.
Yeah.
And I try my best that if it's, and we've had a couple of these where at Public Works it was 2-1, I'm going to come here and say, guys, Public Works was not unanimous on this, and so let's talk about it. Or if Finance was 2-1 and it came here, I'd say, guys, we did not have full agreement, but if it's 3-0,
Yeah.
I'd sort of say, well, it was unanimous. But I try to at least think about, well, that was pretty controversial. Other council members may not think the same thing. Let's have a full vetting here. So I think we try our best to do that.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the way things have gone. I think it's a good, efficient use of people's time to.
I think the struggle I've had the last 9 months
Yeah.
is that I will see something and it's like, I don't know, and it's not like you can, it's just a different time. Typically I would call someone and we'd either talk on the phone or can I come and visit you on this issue? And even the phone stuff's difficult now because, well, for one thing, we don't know who's around necessarily and they're worried about things. So it's been.
Yeah, but I do appreciate us actually meeting in person so I can see everybody and have that camaraderie. I just think it's been important as we sort of work through that.
Right. Okay.
All right, so next item.
We have a plan.
What's that? Yes, sir.
Just a quick question if I could. There's the discussion on the policy items, using the committees.
And for community development, for the broader policy items, we've typically done more of the targeted items, more specific, project-specific, or limited items with the Public Works Economic Development Group. But I guess one thing I have a question on is, and I'm hearing that the committees are beneficial, is there an interest on the broader policy items, like the comprehensive plan amendments, the broader zoning amendments? Is there an interest in taking those through committee as well? Because we can do that.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I haven't really thought about doing those broader ones because we've always done them in a work session here and talked about the bigger policy stuff. So let's think about that.
Yeah.
I don't want that committee meeting till 11:30 either on a Tuesday morning, right? We got
true.
an hour and 45 minutes. We try to be out by 10. I don't want that one to go too long either, so.
Great, thank you.
All right, so I have one issue. We got a $60,000, we're getting $60,000 back on our L&I. We do a retro program through the state. We've struggled for a long time to get any money back, and we finally got something significant. So kudos to Carrie and the team for finally getting an L&I retro check back. So,
Nice.
Very good.
yeah. Laura, what do you got?
We're going to give an update on the CDBG food pantry program.
Yes, so I'll speak and Glenn can tell me what I say wrong, which will probably be the first few words. So the Town Toyota Center has been delivering food to those in need over the last 6 or 7 months through mostly CARES funding through the county. I don't know if they're doing 400, 500, 600 boxes a week. It's a fairly significant, they store them there, they purchase the food, and they go out and they deliver them to these spots. And so we have a little bit of CDBG funding that we could use. And I think we're partnering, the way it sounds like, with Chelan County's CDBG and East Wenatchee CDBG and Douglas County CDBG funds to keep it going for another 6 months or so. We have a little bit of extra in our CDBG funding. It's about $70,000, 69. And so you're going to see something, I think, in 2 weeks about that. Seems like a reasonable use. I will tell you, it does help the Town Toyota Center in terms of it keeps a few folks employed down there. I don't want to tell you anything other than they would love to be able to get another 4 or 5, 6 months out of that program. And so we're trying to figure out how to make it happen, not only for the people, but it also keeps stuff happening there and keeps some folks employed that probably normally wouldn't be. Glenn, add something that's way smarter than that, will you?
I think you covered it well. I think we're looking at about 425 boxes over a 3-month period. That would be similar to the trend that occurred the last 2 months.
Okay.
It's not.
A little different than what occurred previously in that we have some community development block grant requirements we have to follow, that all the parties are willing to work with us on this.
Good. Thank you. I can't tell if that mic's on or not, by the way, but maybe the batteries went out. So you'll see that in a couple of weeks. I just wanted you to know we're sort of working through that. And so I just thought I would let you guys know in case you see it coming up in a couple of weeks. What's next?
You want to announce the equity?
Yeah, so super fun week. As you all sort of, many of you remember, we had a diversity council for years and years and it sort of went away. And it's actually getting recreated through our Valley Our Future and sort of from the grounds up. So it's actually coming back. So it won't be a city functioning event, although we may help in certain ways. But anyhow, excited for that. But we've been giving out social justice and civil rights awards for years and years and years. And so this week we, through in-person and videotaped, gave 2 awards, gave an individual award to Dr. Mabel Bodell. I don't know if you know her, if you've seen her on any of the media. She's a nephrologist at Confluence Health, and she's been doing all the Spanish translation on the COVID-19 stuff. So she's got her YouTube channel in Spanish, and she's telling everyone how to wear their masks and 6 feet apart and what it all means. She's an amazing woman. So Laura and I delivered her award on Tuesday. And then there are times when you forget. You just got to look under your nose to go, the museum. You kidding me? So the museum got the award for a group of, for all, 18 years of running that Martin Luther King. And Ashley was so excited she could hardly stand it. And Kenny, and you think about the great work that happens in that building. And so we gave them a nice award. And so that will be put on Facebook, I think, or some sort of publicity on Saturday.
The museum will release it on Saturday.
Yeah, and they're doing it virtually somehow, which I haven't quite figured out. But again, that was a really good part of the week, and both were very thrilled to get it. I'm excited because I want to keep that going. I don't want it to fall apart, even though we don't have the council going. So last year, Randy Lewis got the award, so we've maintained it every single year. So I was excited for that.
We get some kind of a press release out to the world for that, or to?
Yes. So we'll post something on our social media tomorrow, and then the museum will release the actual video of that on Saturday, which is when they would have typically had the event. So they were trying to match it with last year's. But yes.
And we should probably think about doing something ourselves, at least with the local media folks, if we can put something together, the radio and the newspapers.
Yep.
Well, I think those are great choices. I'm really happy to hear that we were able to find, a very worthy recipient.
Oh, thank you, Ruth. Yeah, we worked hard on that and wanted to make sure we got that done, and so thank you. What's next?
The only other thing I have is the sewer code discussion from earlier this
Oh,
morning.
from earlier today, yeah. So you guys all got letters from the barbecue place?
Sweetwood Barbecue.
Sweetwood Barbecue,
regarding-
email maybe?
Nope, I didn't get it.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Oh, is it just only finance committee got it? Okay. Yeah, so we've had this little discussion about when there's water leaks. So we've had a couple of these. So under the commercial billing system for commercial businesses, the water bill is the water bill. And then we base the sewer bill based on the water bill, because you assume that everything that goes in goes out, right? And some are using more than others. So we had a discussion, I think we talked about it here at the full council regarding the hotel there on North Wenatchee Avenue that had a leak. We told him he had a leak. He couldn't find the leak because I'm building a new hotel, so what's it matter? And tears down the old hotel, and it's just dry as a bone underneath there. So we feel like the water went through the system and into our sewer system. So he's none too happy, wants me to magically make that go away. And then we have the barbecue place that I believe on their roof had some sort of cooling system and generated a water leak. So he got a great big water bill, but as he says, none of that stuff went in the sewer, right? It went down into the sewer. I don't know where it went, but it didn't go into the sewer system because it was on the roof and probably ended up in our storm drain, to be honest with you, but who knows where it went. But anyhow, so he obviously doesn't like the fact he's got to pay for his full water bill, and we've offered him a 50% reduction because our code allows for a 50%, but it's based on sort of a policy, not a code. And he's like, come on, really? Restaurants are struggling, and I had a leak, and that stuff didn't go in the sewer. I should pay my normal sewer stuff. And we've talked about it around here. We have code for a reason and policies for a reason. And so we sort of battled this back and forth at finance today about, so is the policy the right policy? Should we change it? Do we give Jose the authority for everybody? I mean, what do we do with these sort of things that show up? So we talked about maybe changing our policy to change the sewer in those instances where there's a water leak and it went into the sewer system to reduce their fee more than 50%, right? But Brad had some great reasons why we should. It's just very sort of.
I'm full in favor of adjusting our policy because I think it's kind of an extra punitive thing when somebody does end up with a water leak and they end up having to pay such a huge sewer bill as well. And even if that water does end up in the sewer, it's clean water to begin with. So how much is it really costing us to process that clean water? I'm in favor of a policy change.
Okay. So what we talked about today was letting Brad and staff sort of spend some time thinking about coming up with a policy that might be a little bit different than the 50%. Here's Brad in the back who's going to tell you you're wrong, but go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. Our policies, I think
Brad, can you come up and use this mic?
No.
I don't know that one's.
Is this one not? Oh, I probably
There it
wasn't
goes.
close enough.
There you go.
Sorry. I can't tell how far away it is from my face with the mask on. So our policies, I think, were written many years ago, and I think it seems like they were written to try to keep from opening the floodgates, because everybody has leaks of some sort at some time, and if the policies are written loosely, then we're going to need to hire additional staff just to be able to administer credits for leaks. So I think the policies were written fairly restrictive to keep, just to make sure it was the big leaks that were getting the credits, and that the customers weren't abusing the credit policies. I do see that there is probably room to tweak them a bit. And if you want, I could bring it to a work session and we could discuss some of the codes that we've got, see them side by side with for residential and commercial. And yeah, I don't have any problem doing that. The difficulty is we do hear it's hard to make policy that one size fits all. And so our policy works in most of the situations. However, we do get some one-offs that, yeah, it would maybe make sense to do our policy a little bit different. And that's where we still have to treat all of our customers the same. In this case, with the swamp cooler, I know I was talking to our utility billing supervisor, and she was saying that there's another restaurant just a couple blocks away from us that also has a swamp cooler, and a year or two ago they had the same issue. So if we change our policy for this one, now we had a customer who had a similar issue that fell under the same policy earlier, and so it's just making sure that we are treating all of our customers fairly. And so if you do want to have some sort of policy change, that it will definitely be applying to everybody and moving forward. And I guess depending on how open of a policy it is or how generous, it definitely will create more work for staff, which I'm not going to complain about the work. We just may need additional resources for that work.
Okay. So I think that at least the way I'm reading the consensus from the council is you got to try to write a policy that you and your staff can live with. That is a little bit more beneficial in those instances where it's pretty clear that the water did not end up in the sewer pipe.
Sounds good.
Well, okay, beneficial is one term. How about more understood? Or
Yeah.
more exact?
Yeah.
You need to do A, B, and C. Something that's a little more objective. More objective than saying, hey, can you lower
Well, and
my
I
bill?
think you can prove that they had a leak by looking at their historical data. So I mean, you've got the historical data to look at. Okay, for 2 years straight, you used X water, and all of a sudden it's double that. So, or something quantitative, you can tell there was an actual leak. And then I don't know that does it really make a big difference whether that leak ended up in the sewer or in a storm drain. It was a leak.
Yeah, and I think the issue for me gets to, okay, so they had a leak. Our staff probably told them about the leak, to be honest with you, because they look at that stuff all the time, right? Right,
Well, and
Councilmember
that's a really good,
Yeah.
that's a really good point. How often are we monitoring their water consumption? And are
Every
we
month.
giving them written notice that we can prove that they were told that they had a leak?
Every billing cycle, they do it.
Every time we get water reads, every time we get meter reads, we have staff that go through. We've got reports that print off. They show the percentage increase in water consumption. And so it's pretty easy for our staff to go through those reports and see if somebody had 100% increase or 200 or 300% increase in their water consumption. And then we do send out the leak, we call them leak letters, notifying the customer that they may have a leak.
Mark's got one of those. I've got one of those. Who else?
I got one of those in my home.
Linda got one. Steve Smith
Yeah.
got
Yeah,
one.
I've had them a couple times.
Yeah, our staff is very diligent to get those letters out, and then so another piece of this issue has been that we allow 2 bill cycles to, after we notify the customer, they end up having 2 bill cycles to get it fixed, and some customers want more than 2 bill cycles to get things fixed. I know that there are some customers, if we didn't give them a deadline, they may never get it fixed or wait a year or 2 to get it fixed, and knowing that we'll give them a credit. So we do need some boundaries on timeframes. Maybe 2 bill cycles isn't the proper one. Again, that was something that was picked many years ago. So I do think we could have more discussion about that.
What's the real issue that prompted this guy to complain that it's over? He's a restaurant. I mean, he probably wouldn't have complained if it wasn't, if the restaurant wasn't shut down.
I think it's a policy issue too. I mean, we've had it from the hotel and from this. It's the same, and we've had it around for a while. This thing rises to its every so often where people go, "Oh, really?" I mean, it's like, especially the commercial ones where your your sewer bill's tied to your water bill, right? And a leaky toilet in the restaurant can cost a bunch of money, but that's the way we've always billed them. We don't build commercial based on the residential ones, which is a flat fee. So, because some commercial businesses put a lot of effluent into our system and some don't put very much. So, okay, so I guess you get to play with the policy a little bit.
Sounds good. I will play around with the policy and bring something back. It may not be by the 28th,
That's
but
right.
the next meeting after that.
Yeah. All right, council members, anything for good of the order, things on the committees you're working on? It was nice to go to Moses Lake. I think
Yes.
something like that will work, and I think we need to start trying to figure out how to execute that.
Yeah,
Don't you
I
think?
thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. And
So we went to Moses Lake and looked at the low barrier shelter that Allison and her group have put together. So it's outdoor, it's on about 1.5 acres, completely fenced. And then there's even some stuff where you can't even see in it a little bit if you walk by. There's 36 very tiny little, like a garage you'd buy at Lowe's. And they insulate them on the inside and put plywood, and there's just a cot in there. And if you show up, you get a meal, and you can show up between 6 and 10, and it's quiet time at 10, and you have to be out by 8 the next morning, and they give you a meal on the way out. And there's bathroom facilities that are heated and warm, and the shower, and
they also have wraparound services where, they don't have it yet, do they?
not yet,
No,
not
they
quite
don't.
like
They're
we
working on
want to
it.
have them, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
But they do have
hoping-
coordinated entry. I mean, I think they're keeping track, or starting that process,
Yeah.
so. Yeah, so we would have to find a spot to do it, whether it's in Wenatchee or East Wenatchee, but we got to find a spot. The nice thing about this is they've got a 2-year lease on the property, and if they decided to put it someplace else, all that stuff's movable. I probably wouldn't cost you much to go take it to a different spot, because those things are all portable and everything's on wheels and it's gone. And so I think to give our police department the ability to trespass people off of public space, which they can't do now because we don't have one of those, would be a tool that would be helpful, I think, to our police department and hopefully to our community. So,
Their police chief made it sound like it was very helpful to them, so.
yes, and but they did change a bunch of their codes, and we'll have to probably change some of ours. And then it gives him the ability to at least move people off of the park, right? Trespass them out. You can't stay here. You can stay there. If you don't stay there, you and get them off of the public sidewalks and off the park systems. And again, during the day, they're free to go wherever. But at night, this is where they need to go. So let's see if we can put something like that together.
We had a committee meeting yesterday, and there were some sites identified that might be potential sites, but I believe Glenn and staff are reviewing those, and we'll see where it goes.
Okay.
I'm really excited, and staff has done a lot of really hard work on this,
Yeah.
so I really appreciate what they've done.
Councilmember Kulas, Councilmember Hornby.
WDA was nominated for Nonprofit of the Year.
Oh, excellent.
There was one of 3 there. They're also trying to promote the downtown businesses for next year. They're selling packages for Valentine's Day and Mother's Day, and they're thinking about doing some other things. So you can check out their website soon, trying to promote, sell packages for those things. They're thinking about even doing grandma dog days and pet days and those kind of things to help promote the downtown. So look for that coming up.
Any feedback on the bike stuff? The pedestrian, First Street? What are your downtown folks saying about that?
I couldn't make the whole meeting. I know the meeting before, they said that they were going to get a community together to talk about parking again, and I think that was part of the conversation as well. But,
Jose, anything for you?
Nothing much.
Jim?
Nope, just got stuff coming up, but nothing since holiday.
All right.
Yeah,
go ahead.
February, I think, is the AWC Legislative Days. I've registered for it.
Okay.
It's coming up shortly.
Okay.
All virtual.
Yeah, it's all virtual.
And I will add one little quick thing. I did talk to Senator Hawkins yesterday on the phone. He brought up a couple of items, and I think one that I need to keep you guys abreast on. So it sounds like that Pinnacle Preps is just going to do a sort of a cleanup and little interior stuff this time, and maybe next summer do a more complete remodel. So they're asking for $1 million from the state to help pay for their remodel of our community center to be for their school, which if that's the case, that means it's really the city asking for the $1 million because it really is our building, which means your city staff would be involved in executing a construction contract to build stuff we didn't quite sign up for when we said, here are the keys. So just want you to know that sort of came up. I don't know exactly where that's going. And then there was a little bit of discussion, I think we're a year or so away from, about trying to get some more permanent parking for the Jacobson Preserve side of the trailhead. Brad was really interested in trying to figure out, somebody leases parking from the rack and he really wants there to be a more permanent something there that, with state funding, of course, that the city would oversee. But those were a couple of things that we talked about that I want to let you guys know were. The Pinnacle Prep thing to me is the bigger one because it would basically be a capital budget request from the city. Sort of like Parkside, right? Really wasn't to us, but it's sort of us. Yeah. And then I got to make sure staff is capable and has time to do those sorts of things. And so as I told staff, don't shoot the messenger, just relaying information. All right, Laura, anything else? Steve Smith, anything from you? Okay. All right, everybody, we're adjourned. See you in 2 weeks.